The fire flickered, the wet, green wood throwing out more smoke than warmth in the evening gloom. They sat around in a circle, each attending their own thoughts and minding their own matters. Kalindra idly stabbed chunks of meat from her bowl of lukewarm stew, chewing the fat. Malik tuned the strings on his lute, giving them an occasional strum that seemed louder than it should in the gathering dark. Turk puffed his pipe, the dwarf's thick lips occasionally blowing out rings of smoke. Curdon sat, staring into the red heart of the fire, his dark eyes far away. The heavy sword he carried rested in its sheath, the point dug into the soft earth, the hilt resting on his shoulder as he leaned against it. "All right, the tension is killing me," Malik said, sighing as he tightened one last string. He set the instrument aside and leaned forward with his elbows on his knees. "Curdon, why are you doing this?" "Ogres are crushing the farms over in Eastwick," the big man said, shrugging one of his broad shoulders. "There's a bounty on their heads." Sure, Malik said, waving a hand dismissively. "At the surface, that's why we're all here. We're going to go and teach the bully boys a lesson and become the heroes of the hamlet remembered in spring cotillion songs for the next generation or two. But what's your real reason for doing this?" "Not sure I get you," Curdon said. He didn't so much as blink, maintaining his staring contest with the coals. "You're not as dumb as you pretend to be," Turk said, smoke puffing out of his mouth as he adjusted the hood over his bald head. "We've been on the road 2 weeks now, and spoke of many things. You know I killed a dozen men and stole my fair share of gold, and that I'm here to do proper service to get this wretched iron off my neck. And that one over there is here to vouch for my good behavior."
"And I'm watching over him because I believe everyone has a chance to be redeemed," Kalindra said, swallowing a chunk of sausage. She patted her lips lightly. "Even thieves and killers like Turk deserve a second chance and put their talents to productive use."
"Oh, I love you too," Turk said, grunting as he put his pipe back between his lips. "And I'm here to be part of the unfolding tale," Malik said, spreading his hands. "Which just leaves the mystery of why you're actually here, Curdon." Curdon leaned back on the crooked stump he was sitting on and raised his gaze to the bard. Malik leaned forward as if he didn't want to miss a single whisper that might pass the big man's lips. Curdon held Malik's eyes, but he stayed silent. Malik huffed in annoyance. "You want to play a guessing game? Fine, I can do that." Malik folded his arms, frowning. "You handle that sword like a professional. You'll learn the hard way, though. You're a big guy with a lot of scars, strong, silent type. When we're riding, you're always looking off into the trees, your eyes scanning the ground. It's not just paranoia about ambushes, though. You're looking for something that—" "Fine, I will tell you if it will make you stop prattling," Curdon grumbled. "You aren't going to like it, though." Malik smiled, closing his mouth and widening his eyes to show that he was waiting and expectant. Turk took another pull off his pipe, his eyes half-lidded. Even Kalindra gave the moment her attention, folding her hands in her lap. Finally, sniffing through his slightly crooked nose, Curdon let out a single word. "Mushrooms." None of them said anything for a long moment. Malik frowned, blinking several times as if trying to understand what he'd heard. Turk blew smoke out of his nostrils, a smile beginning to curl the corners of his mouth. Curdon dropped his gaze back to the fire. "Mushrooms?" Malik said, repeating the word. "Yep," Curdon said. "Witches' hats, they're called. Small, brown shrooms with a black ring around them like a hat band on the cap." "You volunteered to traipse halfway across the countryside to a place being raided by a clan of ogres because you're looking for mushrooms?" Malik asked. "I was already heading this way on a shroom hunt," Curdon said. "Folks around here are protective of their patches, though, and I was going to need some kind of excuse as to why I was heading up the mountain way. Dealing with this ogre problem seemed good enough." Malik shook his head slowly, back and forth. He looked like somebody had just boxed his ears. "You volunteered to fight ogres, plural, because you didn't want anyone to know you were looking for little black-cap mushrooms to find out where your patch is." "That's the long and short of it," Curdon said with a nod. Turk looked over at Malik. The dwarf didn't say anything. He just held out a hand. Malik dug into his belt pouch, took out a silver coin, and flicked it at Turk's head. The dwarf caught it and tucked it away with a chuckle. Malik picked up his lute, his smile nowhere to be seen. "I hope you're as good with that sword as you seem to think you are," the bard said. "They're just ogres," Curdon said. I wager they'll be handled in short order, and I can probably get enough blackcaps to last me till next season. That time, Turk did laugh. Even Kalindra smiled, hiding it behind her hand. Malik sighed, shook his head, and idly picked a few chords on his instrument. The Ballad of the Black Hat Hunter, he mused. Suppose I could get a halfway decent song out of that if I spent a little bit of time with it.